It's 9:01. Should we do it? Should we get started?
We should. Why would I say no to that? Yes. Let's get going.
We should. Awesome. Welcome everybody to our fifth week of our 8-week training, mastering AI, working AI into your business and your life as well. We've had such a great time. Last week was, I loved kind of our shift a little bit last week, Eric, when we were talking about leadership and just really, framing how we approach our AI to get the most out of it. And it's clearly identifying our objectives. And you shared with us the OODA loop. Last night on our member call, I see a lot of familiar faces, people that were on our call last night. Thanks for joining us. Rick and I had a fantastic time chatting with you guys, going deeper into just that, like how to get the most out of our AI or any objective we have in our life or our business, framing things the right way. And, first approaching what it is we're trying to accomplish rather than putting the tool first. And that relieves a lot of the overwhelm too when we're learning new technology, is if we start with our objective before we approach the tool. So today is all about scale, which I know so many of you on the call are team leaders, are looking, or are an individual agent but looking to expand your operations and grow your business, scale. We talk a lot about leverage that we get through our technology and AI, but we're going to explore today how we can also use our AI to expand our leverage through humans, right? We've got human leverage too that we want to keep a big part of our business, but how can we effectively onboard the right people, find the right people, train the right people, also retain them, and ensure that we're leveraging their skill sets most effectively and efficiently as possible. And we can use the AI to power us as leaders to do so. So I'm really excited for today's call. Thank you so much all for joining us. And just like every week too, please share your thoughts in the chat in the comments. We've got our whole team here tracking these. We've got Josh, Nate, Rick's with us today, and Kelly Perkel, of course, as well too. So they're fantastic, and they'll be following the chat as well as myself. And we'll try to answer your questions. Some of them we'll bring to the group. We think they'll help everybody as well. And then, as always, you guys are all members, so this is recorded and will be put into Huzi Learn for you to watch back at any time. You can also bring it into the Satori board, digest that, work any of our insights in today's call into your projects as you move forward. So, without further ado, Eric.
Good morning. Good morning. Good
Good
morning. Good
morning.
to see you. Week 5. Let's go. We're talking about growth. We're talking about scale. And in all of these things, my general philosophy has always been that your business can't grow any bigger than you are, right? That the limiting factor to, especially in a small business and solopreneurship, sales, the cap on you is you. The cap on the business is you. And I don't know about you guys, like there's some pivotal moments, in my childhood when I look back that kind of framed the way I look at the world. I don't know if you guys think about like, oh yeah, that moment in time, Christmas morning or something, like frame the way you felt about a certain thing, or a relationship frame the way you felt about a certain thing kind of for the rest of your life, or until you had awareness around it, and then you could grow up and modify it and develop your own. But for me, around income, I remember there's this one time, okay, imagine the mid 80s, and I'm at a company, picnic for my stepfather, okay? And the type of company picnic that's like in a field in a park, and you're playing horseshoes and basketball and doing the barbecue thing, and that old school, hitting the wiffle ball bats and that kind of stuff, right? Kids running around everywhere. And there was this one friend that my stepdad had that I kind of looked up to. I thought he was kind of cool, right? If you remember mid 80s, you remember those jean shorts that were like oddly too short
Yours.
for men, right? Like those ones with the little strings hanging down, all those things. Okay, this guy wore those. I thought it was so cool. And I remember one time he had like a half shirt, like a meth half shirt, and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, for whatever reason, I thought the guy was like really cool. And I overheard him and my stepdad having a conversation at this picnic. And this guy that I looked up to in this way, and remember, I was like 9 or 10 or something in that area. And he was making this big deal how we got this raise to make nearly $40,000. Okay. And for whatever reason, that was like implanted in my little childhood brain. Like, oh my gosh, if I could make $40,000 in a year or two, I could be cool. I could have those kind of shorts in the S10 truck or whatever, the guy drove, right? And I just remember that, like, for a reason, that was like this moment, and it kind of formed my cup, my income cup. Okay. And as you progress through life, you realize, I don't know, maybe it's not anybody on this call, but maybe some people in your life to where They get a certain amount of money, they're good, they get more money than that, and then they somehow find a way to take that vacation, buy the car, or spend down, right, to this amount. And then there's a little, then you go a little bit below this, and there's like, oh shit, I better make some more money. And you get up above that, like, but there's this buoy, there's this balance, right? This kind of income balance, this wealth balance that people kind of settle into. And that kind of set my balance for a while, like $40,000. And you go and be like, oh wow, right? I can make that in a year. I can make that in a quarter. I can make that in a month. I can make that in a day, right? And certain jobs and incomes. I remember one time, I flipped a property in an hour. It was like 48 grand in an hour, right? And so my mind was like, wait, what's possible? What's possible? And so I bring this up because we're talking about scale and growth. And there's no reason to talk about hiring and training and recruiting and growing your team and expanding your knowledge on how to use AI unless we're expanding who we are and what we're capable of. Um, to my team, that's on this call, you guys have all witnessed me personally, just get personal for a second, kind of hit my ceiling at certain things, right? Like we all do that. Like we grow, we expand, we try new things, and you find out what you're capable of. And doing this company and running this company, I've hit my ceilings, and a few times I've like, oh, that's why I'm doing this, so I can grow and I can expand. And so I just want to kind of start off the conversation in this way that none of this stuff is possible unless we're personally kind of expanding and growing. So if you guys don't mind, I would love it just, on your paper, whatever your desk right now, whatever your goal is for this year, would you please just write that down in front of you for a minute? Like your goal, whether that's an income goal, a production goal. I'm not asking anybody to share it. Just write, like literally just write it down in front of you on a piece of paper if you can, or type it on your phone or something like that. And I want you to look at that for a second. I did this drill this morning, by the way. So I'm just sharing what I did this morning. Um, and as you're looking at that, if you can for half a second, decide how you came up with that. What was what's baked in there, right? What childhood influences, money influences, keeping up with the Joneses, things you read online, an influencer you follow, personal beliefs, your religion. What is that? If you can, take inventory of that real quick. And now, as you look at that number or number of homes or gross volume or commission income or whatever you wrote down, push yourself a little bit. And I want you to write down a number that's bigger than that and a little bit uncomfortable. And I want you to write that down, please. A little bit more, push yourself. What's an uncomfortable number? And what I did when I looked at that number, I was like, why, for me personally, I was like, why is that uncomfortable? Like what makes that uncomfortable? Isn't that possible? Aren't there lots of people in the world that make that amount of money or sell that number of homes or whatever? Like, why is it impossible for me? Because there's that money out there to be had today, for somebody. Why do I feel like it's uncomfortable for me? Like, what's inside of that? And the reason why I did this drill is because we want to talk about hiring and training, and we talk about, expanding your team and expanding your vision. Like, what are you expanding and attracting people to? People, quality people are really attracted to other people that have expansive goals that are bigger than them, right? And so part of like hiring and training to a team is becoming the sort of magnetic person, confident person, driver that other A quality people are attracted to, that want to work around, right? That want to be with. So I'm going to open up my screen here and share a couple things with you to get started, and we're going to get right into hiring and training. Um, while I'm doing that, if you want to look at that last number that's uncomfortable, um, the difference, the stopgap, the bottleneck between that number and a number that's doubled that even is entirely you, right? Entirely the way we're thinking right now, the systems we have in place, the way we're approaching our business, the way we value ourselves. And I would stand to bet that nearly every single person on this call at some point in their day or some point in their week feels slightly undervalued or slightly underpaid. Is that fair? And if that's true, then that's what we want to fix today. We want to expand into that. So let me share. I'm going to share one thing. A new board, Satori, that over the last couple of weeks that I have fallen in love with, and I want to share that. It's really helped with my mindset over these last couple of weeks. let's share this board here. Can you guys, Danielle, can you see the board?
We can see it.
All right, let's go. It's this board right here. Okay. Gonna get a little personal with you guys, but you guys are all members. You're always all here. So I'm going to share with you an actual board that I use now almost daily. So what I have done with my personal growth board is divided my life into these different categories. And these different categories need different resources because the way I am in a certain category is a product of all of my best thinking. All of my best thinking got me to where exactly where I am in each one of these categories. These categories are personal development, how good I am at sales, leadership, my love life, my spirituality, parenting, fitness, money, everything, right? And so if I need to break free of those, I have got to have some sort of new thinking. I have to have exposure to new thinking, right? The thing that you can't fix it yourself, right? You got to get inspiration from somebody else, learn from somebody else. So I have my Q1 and Q2. Let me expand this real quick. Text block over here. And sorry, go over here. There we go. I'm trying to make it larger. And this is now just a text block. And I have come up with my own top 5 empowering questions that I have personally around each one of these categories. The reason why I paid attention to this first, and the reason why I'm sharing this is to set the stage of what are you hiring and recruiting and expanding to. All right. So I had to be very, very personal for a second to make sure my quality of my question was really good so that the answer I got was worth getting. Right? So we're talking about things like, oh, why can't I sell a house, that's over, $750,000, whatever that number is? That's a horrible question. Like, that's not a good question. It's not an actual question, right? So I came up with these best questions that I could for each one of these categories. Then I figure out what were the resources I need in each. And then daily, I come in here and I do some work to research. And I have my little 9 minutes of greatness I've talked about for this whole last year, how I use Huzi, and I have this 9 minutes of greatness routine in the morning. And I sit down here and I go through a category and I have a resource and I access the resource. And now I am working on my personal development to grow so I can become a better leader, a better father, a better salesperson, those sorts of things, right? So this sort of board, my left board here is my business. So I have mindset, selling, business, and leadership. And then over on this side with this conversation, my personal side, basically psychology of money, love, spirituality, and my fitness and health and wellness. And so I've got these two sides of the boards, and I'm just sharing this with you that this is like, I felt like really made an important trajectory in some of these like little key elements that I know I needed to kind of shore up for a minute. Okay. So we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about developing, we're talking about developing other people. We have to be constantly working on developing ourselves. And with AI, you guys, have you guys heard of the Turing test? Do you guys know what the Turing test? Josh, have you heard of the Turing? Like obviously a Turing test. Turing test was what they kind of assigned as a benchmark test to decide when AI can do the activities or mimic the capabilities of most human beings in most tasks. That's a very kind of loose description of what the Turing test is. There was a paper that was just released yesterday for the very first time that AI has kind of reached that benchmark. Okay. At the University of San Diego, that just came out yesterday. Now you're going to see also a bunch of publishers that say, "Hey, we've achieved AGI, artificial general intelligence, or we've achieved artificial superintelligence." You're going to see those sorts of headlines, and that's not what has happened. This is a different sort of benchmark, but people will misunderstand it. So if you see those headlines, don't. That's not actually what's happened. They'd actually kind of reached a benchmark test where if you are interacting with an AI as a human being, you now no longer can tell if it's an AI or a person in most jobs, an accountant, a dentist, a plumber, a real estate agent, a mortgage lender, a counselor, okay, a biology instructor, like fill in the blank here. Most things, most people now, AI has kind of reached that level in terms of like you can't really tell if it's a person or not. As a matter of fact, in some tests, people are actually thinking that the AI is the person and the person is not the person because the AI is becoming more good at mimicking a type of persona than most people are. Okay. So I say all this because this expansion, this personal expansion is necessary to really grow your team, to grow yourself. All right. So that's board number one. Any questions on that, Danielle? And then you want me
No,
to,
I love this so much. I mean, so many of us on the call, we talk about books all the time. Reading is such a big part of our life, and we have a lot of aha moments when you're in the book. But the disconnect and the hard piece is like when you then have that project where that wisdom would pertain to what it is you're trying to accomplish, to find all those aha moments again. And so this is a way to, template and tag those books and say, it's this one I want to draw wisdom from.
yeah. So to set something like this up might take you a half hour, might take you 40 minutes, but now it's a resource you should have all day, every day. And I've showed you my board of directors as well for my business. This is now kind of my personal board of directors. And this to me is just such an empowering board that I can just get access to. If I feel like I'm stumbling, if I feel like I'm getting in my own way, I run right here, ask a couple questions, free up my mind, get some new thinking, and move on. Okay, so I don't have to live here very long. It's just a little quick, hey, let's sprint, let's go. You're better than this. You can figure this out. Let's get you the resources. Go, right? And so it's just very, very powerful. I just kind of want to start the day with that. Okay, let's get into, I'm going to use the real world scenario here. Personally, I'm looking to expand and looking at hiring an executive assistant. So I'm going to use that as a use case today. I'm going to share a few things with you that I'm actually doing. So we're talking about expanding in a real use case, not philosophical. Okay. Let's see here. Josh, actually, before I get into this, I want to share with you working with Huzi or working with Satori. Um, we're trying to make it so you can just talk and have a conversation with it. But if you are trying to do some deep work in one thing, it's really nice to have your prompt structured in such a way. So, Josh, can I have you explain the prompt wizard here that you have as a Spark that's available for everybody in the SparkPad?
Yeah, totally. So I was thinking about how to do this demo for the past 5 seconds. So there's nothing really stopping you from just going to SparkPad and typing, for instance, something like write me a system prompt for a copywriting assistant. And you'll get something that does sort of work technically, but it's very sort of white bread. If you want to do this demo, we could. Um, because I think that's the best way. Or if you want me to share my screen, I
That's
can.
okay. You just talk about the theory of it, and I'll just give an example here live while you're doing it.
Yeah, totally. And there's just a lot of sort of things that I've learned work really well when it comes to system prompts and creating something that's engaging and useful. And it was sort of a way to roll all those things together. Um, so some things that I guess are sort of standout features is you can see it will make sure it doesn't ask more than one question at a time. A lot of the time, if you use an AI that's not, just like base ChatGPT or something, it's like, hey, give me this, and you get like a big bulleted list, and you're like, great, I have this, like worksheet to do now. So there's a lot of behaviors that keep things very sort of conversational, short, effortless. A lot of times with AI assistants, you'll get the okay, that sounds good. Let me know if you have any other questions. It's like, okay.
Hmm.
Especially if you're sort of creating a system prompt to deploy or like, hey, this is something I really like and you want to share it with somebody else. Um, this just sort of creates an experience that can be a little bit more robust, especially when you're doing things that are more sort of multi-step. There's language in there that helps make sure that things sort of stay on task and are structured, clear goals. One of my least favorite things when I'm talking to an AI is it'll be like, hey, tell me about the different kinds of bananas. It'll be like, oh, there's a lot of different kinds of bananas. I'm like, nice. What are they?
Yeah.
And that drives me crazy. So that I feel like just having that in there is like a huge value add. Um, but it's just sort of it helps imbue the assistants with the sorts of things that I found to be very helpful. And at Huzi, we really that's sort of what we're all about is these things are out there, they're sort of commoditized, and it's how does our approach what can we add to the experience to make it sort of a cut above and feel a little bit more personal and a little bit more um it just I feel like it creates a much better experience. The other thing about this prompting wizard is it understands if you want to just immediately test the prompt in the conversation, you can do that. It'll be like, hey, do you want to do that? And you can, which will definitely be helpful in getting a sense of sort of how the conversation flows. Although it's difficult because when you have a system prompt and you say, okay, just act like that's your system prompt, it's sort of like telling a person, hey, like, don't think about a white elephant. Let's go do this thing. So that context will always matter. But yeah, it focuses on how to create an interaction that's engaging, how to make sure that you're not annoyed by not being given information. It makes sure that the user or you doesn't get left hanging. It provides examples when asking questions, just all the things that I've learned make sort of a good communicator. So hopefully I have a good opinion of that, but
I think it's well done. And when you do, like, you brought up a good point, Josh, when you sit down and like, hey, I need a job description for, yeah, you'll get something out of it. But if you go to the prompt wizard here, give it, and you start with this prompt, you're going to get an entirely different experience, an entirely different sort of job description written for you if you use a well-developed prompt. So I want to point out this one here, and in Satori, I've made like a prompt engineer board for me as well. There was a certain elements of a few different videos and books. I shared this last time, and so I just reference this board. If I need a really well-crafted prompt, I can use this way as well. So whether you're in SparkPad or Satori, setting up something like this or reminding yourself that you have a prompt wizard inside the SparkPad is a nice way to kind of start off if you did want to do something more comprehensive than just a quick, search or a quick like iteration, or you're working on something really quickly. Develop a nice starting, opening, existing prompt, and then you'll kind of get a jump start on the whole task. So good job, Josh. I really like that. And also to remind you too, inside the agents, if you're building agents, for those of you new on the call, you have the wizard down here in the bottom, and you can ask for this assistant here to develop system prompts to developing any of the AI agents for you on your behalf as well. So good job on all three great resources to have the prompts written for you here right inside the system. I see more and more, prompt libraries still being sold online, and these external websites that you can enter in a thing and it will generate the prompt and you copy and paste it and put it in your system. You don't need any of that kind of stuff because we have all the resources right here inside of Huzi, no matter where you are. So that's an important step here. Okay.
And I will just add,
Please.
You can definitely go in, say, hey, I need a system prompt for this, drop it in somewhere, use it. That's super great. But also if you're looking to sort of level up your AI fluency a little bit, I think that could be a great place to go. Be like, hey, I need to accomplish this task. Let me throw it in the prompt generator, see what it comes up with, and then that sort of can help give you sort of a sneak peek or, a window into how to start sort of talking about these things in a way that produces better results.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Expansion. Draw. Yeah, Danielle.
Yeah, and Jamie had a great question actually. She was asking if there's a way that we could create a prompt wizard persona that they could just select every time for the Satori board. So we do actually have that coming where you can save kind of your favorites and stuff like that. But in the moment, a super easy way to do this, in fact, I have this on my boards, is if there's a persona, and to me, it's like that's my team member, right? I picture that if I were to have 7 people working for me, they're all different personas. And so I have those already created as boards with that one element in there. And then you just go and you duplicate that board, and I'm starting a new project with that board. Or you can also have many different projects on one board, and perhaps it's just specific to that persona, and you have different clusters of projects or conversations because you can add new connections or remove connections, but maybe everything's built around your persona. So lots of flexibility there, and even more options coming soon as well too. So great question.
Yeah,
And Danielle,
I
just
love
real
using
quick,
personas in my prompting. I love it on Satori using personas. Just so you guys know, inside of the next version that's releasing this week, like again, to give you a quick tour across the top, you'll see that the navigation has switched up to include Satori being in the main navigation. If you're on the real estate platform, you'll get the dashboard and the pre-listing tool as well. The starting state here for the boards will look slightly different. And the next version of the persona, what is on the roadmap for next month is that if you have a persona, but you want to feed this persona a book and a video and then save the content around a persona, that will generate more like a little custom assistant that you could reuse and save to a library and use over and over and over. So that's the next version of the persona, which I'm really excited for.
Eric, really quick, does that mean that currently, if we're feeding a book into a persona on a board, that persona is not taking in the book?
It is, because what's happening now is this AI has the book and the persona, so it's being mixed inside of the chat window. Yep.
So
But
you
it's not
connect
feeding
the
back.
book to the chat.
Yeah, the book to the chat and the persona to the
persona.
chat.
Right, okay.
But what we want is you be able to kind of skip this step and be able to connect your book to a persona, save that in a library, right? Or your files or your SOPs or whatever it is, save that to a persona and just drag it back to persona, and every time it'll be a little shortcut for you.
Because that connection is currently not available, right? Because that's what I tried originally.
This one here?
No. The book to the persona directly.
Correct. That's right. That's right. Yep, exactly. So I know that you are really like this, you're going to be one of our like favorite sort of like testers on all these things, because you're really getting after it. And I want you to know too, what we're working on right now is be able to connect chats to chat as well. Right. And then the next one is chat to image as also already in our mix. So we can have more two-way connections and not just one-way connections here. Yeah. Cool. Great question.
And just to clarify, Rick, thank you so much for making that point. I might not have been clear too. So if you do have boards that are all started with your different personas, right? Different boards for your team members, that duplicate button is in the 3 dots when you're on the My Boards page, at the same place where you would delete or rename, you've got duplicate. So you might just have a template. Jamie, great question. Starts with your persona, and duplicate that if you want a whole new fresh board with that team member.
And keeping these boards, like you can see here, in my little demo account, you have untitled, which is just annoying as heck. So being able to click rename, and you can see here, there's an AI suggested name. So it reads what's happening on the board and giving you a little suggested name. So you can just, okay, yeah, I'm going to title that one, right? Really easily. That way they're not untitled, right? And in the next version, you actually see little micro screenshots of each board. So as you look at, you have a visual representation of what each board is as well.
Hey, another fast, quick question. Is there a
Please.
way, like if somebody has a persona or something of that sort that seems to be really like killing it for them, that feels a little probably like generic, like let's just say real estate or, just executive assistant or whatever. Is there a way to share the persona with the community?
Yes, that is also, so there's going to be in 2 releases from now, is what's on the current board roadmap, is being able to collaborate and share a board, the whole board. So if you want to share that with a teammate or meet live on the board, right, and work on a project together with your assistant or a teammate or a cohort or your team or whatever. And lastly, share a board to the community, or share a persona to the community, share your resources to the community, and be able to have collaboration inside the community. Yeah.
Yeah. So to be clear, in the moment, no, but that's coming. And we're so excited to hear you share too, because that's just feedback that we're on the right road. And with the new connections being able to feed into the personas, right? So you've got now more directions going. That'll be even more valuable in the future, because as we have personas, we can continuously train them. So if you're a team leader and you've got, a marketing manager or something that you want all of your team using, and you guys find new wisdom out there that you want to inform your marketing manager with, you can keep feeding information. Everybody's working on this with the same trained team member. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, so you hit on the point, like when we talk about, expanding and hiring and training, it was always human beings. And now we're expanding and hiring and training these little mini like AI assistants and little mini AI employees. And so we want to quickly get to there. Also, just since we're talking about what's coming, you're going to see inside of your Huzi agents, those of you that are using agents, the AI voice is coming soon. So we're going to start getting towards being able to call in and talk to your AI agent, or having your customers call in and talk to your AI agent. And maybe your AI agent is about a listing, or it's the AI agent that's helping you schedule or whatnot. So that is also made one step closer to making to your dashboard here in the coming 2 weeks. Good question. Anything else in the chat, Danielle, since I can't see that? I love
No,
these
this is great.
questions.
I love Rick's in there too, so he's keeping up on questions. Thank you so much for that help. And these are great. I'll continue to share as things come in.
Okay, good. Let's see how we doing on time. 9:30. Oh, geez, these hours go so fast. Okay. So let me go to okay, you know what? I'm gonna share this document. If anybody wants this document, I'll go ahead and make this live and I'll send this out as a follow-up to this. The reason why you might want this is because these were basically my prompts that I am using along the way in hiring and looking and researching an executive assistant. Not all of them, but this is some of them here that I put together for you. So if you want to use these as a template, you can use these for onboarding, resume review, creating training material, rewarding incentives, and then actually creating an AI agent as support, which I'll explain here in a second as well. You guys have been around companies or have done hiring before. You don't need to know like preparation is key, but I'll include this here because this was my checklist that I went through personally to make sure that I was hiring to a foundation, giving them a chance for success, right? And so I will share this checklist with you here. Um, I am a big fan of doing research both on the direction of the market and of the type of person that you're hiring towards. Josh is an example on this team that what Josh does as a career now didn't exist 18 months ago or so, or 2 years ago at most, right? And so market's changing, things are changing, the needs of a team are changing. There's in real estate, like the book, like The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that's been around a long time, still a great structure to it, but it needs to be updated, right? To include the new tools and resources that are available today, right? And so when we think about the team, please pause for a moment and think, well, new rules, new game, don't use the old strategies. It's hard to win the new rules, new game using old strategies, right? So just pause a moment, do that research. Now let's do a couple little hacks and a couple little shortcuts here, just to show a couple of ideas. Um, Reviewing resumes, reviewing candidates is a really tough thing, time consuming thing, and you want to get that right. So I'm going to show you the way I use SparkPad in order to do that. Let me actually start a new chat. Okay, so let me go. I'm going to go resume review. All right, so here's my prompt that I had created for the resume review. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this in here. All right. Job description. Now, the job description and the job loaded to Huzi. And again, how to load those, you add a new file, just drag and drop those. So here were actually 5 resumes. Let's see, 5 resumes. And the job description, I'm now going to add these to the chat. And you can see what's happening is Huzi will now start to review the job description that I had written, that I had Huzi actually generate the job description for me, and then start to review each candidate and each application for me and come up with my interview questions. I wrote the prompt to include like how qualified, what's the likely match that they are to the job, reviewing their resume. So this is a way that I can get right into the things that are important to me if I'm scanning resumes and not have to read each and every resume because Huzi can do that job for me. All right. So it's a really nice way to take my job description, take my candidates, generate a prompt that goes in between those things, and then use AI to sort, max, Mitch, and then help me come up with the sorts of interview questions and strategies to be able to interview and sort out all these applicants. Any questions on this, Danielle? Like
This is fantastic. I think this is the perfect example of how this type of leverage does make things quicker, right? And us more efficient in the process, but we can use that time to be more effective also with the project. Like very often, I mean, I've hired people before and you have your standard questions, and there's some benefit to asking the same questions to every candidate for a little bit of a comparison. But the piece that we're often missing, and it's just merely lack of time to research and think so deeply, is what questions would be really beneficial to draw out some additional, like, potential in this candidate, or point to some weakness or troubleshooting, anything like that, right? And now we can leverage our AI to really get deeper in our discovery process. And I think this is where efficiency really starts to make a difference because you can be more effective. with the additional time.
In our transaction coordination management department or agent services department, we're hiring for a new person there. And Sarah, who's in charge of that department, I mean, she'll get 100+ resumes for that sort of thing. And so it's impossible to go through, and take a step out of her day without something like this. So I'm going to share this prompt so you can still feel free to change this prompt, make it modify yours. But I liked this one as really just personalized for me. It was taking my job description, taking all the applicants, mixing and matching, and then helping me come up with their questions and for each one and sorting them through. Right. And if there's really key things that you want to make sure that you're finding out if it's in their resume and you just simply won't look at it unless it has that thing, what a quick and easy way that you can have AI support you and do that without you having to actually go through each one. So that's a really nice little hack there. Training material. Okay, now you see this one see how this prompt looks a little bit differently. So in here, when you're going through, you can see I've gone back and forth. Like some of these I've used Josh's prompt wizard, inside the SparkPad. I like the way that is. It seemed to make sense for me from application. Other times you'll see like this came from my prompt board inside here. That's why they look different. So if we have my prompt engineering board, and you can see in here, it generally puts it in this sort of markdown sort of text box here. And so when I copy and paste it, that's why these look different. So you can see what's coming out of Satori and what's coming out of the prompt wizard, okay, in this document. And I'll share this with you. Now onboarding. Rewards and incentives. How much time do we have? Okay, let's actually go to agents. You can read through these prompts and we can talk about onboarding and rewarding assistance, but I wanted to show you how you can use the AI agent actually in this process as well. What I actually plan to do for this executive assistant, I'm going to actually have in part of the hiring process, one of these AI agents that will act as my screener. So what I'm going to do here is inside of leads, this will be in the link for all the application, and I will do this. I will have name, right? Field, enter, example. Okay. So now in each conversation, when they start the conversation, I didn't say that. It'll require them to answer the information, name, email, phone number, job that they're applying for. And then inside, when anybody ever makes the application or does this initial sort of Q&A answering, they will all show up here. And if you'll see here, I was testing this one this morning. You will see here that if they collect the name, your name will show up here. So I have a resource, a name. I can have a summary of the conversation. I can generate a summary of the conversation so I don't have to read through them all. And it'll help me quickly sort out my candidates. And again, if you collect a lead, if you want to send these over to your CRM, send this over to a Google Sheet, a Notion document, something like that, you can. And that way you can have all of your conversations and all the information aggregates from your applicants in one area. And you've got an AI assistant doing some of that preliminary screening for you, which I think is really neat. So I'm doing that. And then second of all, for giving them a chance for success once they're on board, I'm actually making an AI assistant that will have all of my FAQs and resources for them that they can access any point in time. Like what's my full contact information? What's my bio for press requests? Who's like on my VIP list that if they need to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me right away. Like those sorts of things that your close team might have access to as a resource. Give them a chance to have all of those questions in one resource so they're not frustrated. They're not like waiting on you. They're not like trying to email you in your Slack channel, in your Facebook group, whatever it is, but you've thought ahead and you've prepared this AI assistant that has all the resources, everything they need to know about you, your way of doing things, your standard operating procedures, standard responses you want them to use, whatever it is, you can give them a resource here so they can just quickly ask questions and it'll give them a better chance for success. And that's I think two great ways to use AI agents in a hiring and scaling process. Upfront and qualification, lead generation and sorting, and then once they're hiring as part of the onboarding, training, and resource support center here. Danielle, any questions on that?
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example of lead generation. Lead generation isn't necessarily just, for our business in revenue generating activities, but also when we talk about leveraging our resources, human resources as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Great example.
Okay, let's go to, and by the way, on the AI agents, inside of the settings. This is the base system prompt. Josh can make an outstanding one if you really want. If you want some help to make any of these, you can rely again on the base system prompt here, or inside of Satori, you can build your own, or in SparkPad, you can use that prompt wizard. So in order to create these instructions for your AI agent, you have 3 resources and you can use all of them.
In the marketplace, of course.
In the marketplace. You know what? I just want to point out, if you guys have other ideas for marketplace agents that you like pre-built that you can just choose from, please send us an email and we will consider building those out and just have it in the marketplace for you. Okay, these are the list of the marketplace agents that Josh has built so far. And you got a big long list, Josh, of business specific ones, not real estate specific ones, but business specific agents that we'll start to see populating in the marketplace as well in the coming 2 weeks. Right,
And
Josh?
I can set it up so you can just tell the agent on the website if you have an idea. And then,
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Okay.
yeah, suggestion box feature.
Okay, that will be great. We'll put a suggestion box in there. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and go back into Satori. First of all, is anybody on this call looking to hire or expand their team in 2025 at all? Love to know if there is anybody here. No, Danielle, anybody raising their hand?
I don't see.
Okay. Let me ask a question then. What's going on? Like, what's going on? When you looked at that income goal at the very beginning, the one that you wrote down, or the one you feel comfortable with because you know you can do it, I'm making a guess. The one that I asked, push yourself a little bit and write down, you're thinking, oh, if I really work extra hard and really grind through it and really figure out I can do that. And then that third one, that when you doubled it, that's not possible by yourself or the way you're currently doing things, right? And so using AI, using people, using leverage, which is systems, money, and technology, essentially, or
And you're welcome to
leverage, is the only way you reach
get an offer from
those
those
next
people.
levels. So I would hope after today, I'm not trying to convince anybody to go hire people and spend money and get out of your comfort zone, but I am pointing out that the bottleneck in the business is me. It's you, right? And so in order to break that ceiling, that income cup, that income goal, you got to break your thought processes the way you're thinking now. We got to break the systems that we're doing now and implement new systems. And growth is really important in business. You know, the old saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. It's very true. And especially in a fast-paced world, I'm sorry that it's fast-paced, you guys, but I don't care. It's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is, right? And because it's fast-paced, that's just the way that the world is now. And so we got to adapt or move out of the way, right? And so this sort of like, strong mindset, fairly like rigid mindset of like impossible, concrete self-confidence is necessary, right? To take up space. You got to take up space in your market, and you got to take up space where you are, and you can't do that by yourself. So please lean on Huzi and the staff to continue to grow. What other?
I think, Eric, I just kind of a defense to everybody on the call too. I bet everybody knows if you had a whole team, you'd be able to sell more, do more for sure. But previously, and I'd say prior to AI, the lift is so big and it's an entirely different business to manage when you're managing people. And so they've just checked that off the list of options because they've already made the decision. They've gone through the OODA loop and they've made the decision that that's not what they want to take on. So now I think what we're encouraging everybody to do is they've already leaned in and are looking to leverage technology to find opportunities that otherwise might have been available through humans. Now what we're starting to see is that the worlds are like morphing together and we can leverage our AI to open back up that opportunity to now leverage humans. Like we know we would love to.
I think the future is very fractional. Okay. what I mean by that is like a lot of fractional support. So you don't have to hire, I'm not talking about you have to hire like somebody full time, but to leverage to figure out, oh, I need this thing. I need this thing done by something, an AI system or somebody else. Don't let it stop you. Like you can go through a process using AI to come up with a strategy, make the post, get the projects, fully dialed out, hire somebody out, leveraged, and get it back, and it's done. It's fractional, but it's still an expansion of you. So I'm not talking about like hiring a big team, like permanent sort of thing. I'm talking about expanding your capacity through AI and other people. But the future is fractional. I really believe that. And so getting that support like constantly from around you, whether it's from Huzi or your broker or your coworker or somebody on Upworks, whatever, please leverage the system to figure out, diagnose, create, onboard, complete, execute, repeat, OODA loop. Okay.
I love that. And you shared last week in that observe phase is what are you witnessing? And also what assumptions are you making or what's not being said also? That's the other thing too, is what are we not doing or what assumptions are we making? And so there might be some things we need to let go of, some assumptions from the past because we've got a new environment.
And that's honestly like now, hopefully that makes a little more sense why I started with this board, right? When it starts to like figure out like where am I stuck? What, where is my cup that's leveled up that I need to expand? What thought processes do I need to dissolve and implement new ones? And so starting with this does help free that up just a little bit. And just don't figure it out. We don't have to figure it out all by yourself anymore. I've never felt more powerful because I have access to these sorts of things right now, as long, caveat, as I'm focused, right? As I'm being intentional with it. This can also be a time suck and rabbit holes and distraction. And let's be honest, like that's also super fun just to go and like try new shit and get distracted from picking up the phone and doing your prospecting. So I'm not suggesting to get away from the fundamentals, block and tackling. However, like just in that 9 minutes of greatness that I have for myself, and that 9 minutes consistently stacked up day after day after day makes a massive difference at the end of each quarter and the end of each year. And those sorts of things, these deep dives into an area of expertise is what the top 10%, the top 5%, the top 1% will do in every field to be able to outcompete the AI-powered consumer and the AI-powered competitor. Broad knowledge is a commodity. I had a client one time, Danielle, that was this older man, and he was one of those like charismatic, like funny guy. I love this guy so much. And he's like, Eric, I used to be the smartest guy in every room until Google came out, and then everyone knew I was just full of shit because I just looked in the pocket, figured out like everything I was talking about was not heck. I was just making stuff because I was the smartest guy in every room.
Exposed.
Yeah, it was exposed, right? We're gonna get exposed. If you're in the real estate industry, your buyers and sellers will expose your lack of knowledge in your open houses and in your buyers tours, unless you really, because these guys, they've got the knowledge, right? Your sellers, they're gonna expose you in those listing presentations. If you're hiring a new candidate, they're gonna expose you if you're not prepared to hire properly and you don't have a good hiring process. It's really easy to get exposed in this market. So that's why I am really big on this sort of like mindset thing, setting the foundation, then being clear, then executing. Okay. And I think, let's see here, that's 10 minutes. Q&A. I'm going to open up the thing for Q&A now. Any sort of questions or individual use cases that you want me to go into?
Well, Melissa actually asked a great question. She said, can you walk us through your 9 minutes every morning, Eric? Just like broadly speaking,
Sure.
how you start your day, your mindset.
Yeah, most of the time I'm now going to this board here and I'm picking the thing. So I do have my old school. Rick's on the call. If Rick is on the call, Rick's got journals like crazy. I have my old school. I call this my captain's log. So it's generally just a few notes. And what I do to start my day is I go back through my previous week. I don't go back through the week and I look for a couple of like little pain points that I wrote down or little shortcomings or little questions about, ooh, I felt like I fell short in this meeting. I write down like how I felt about it. Or, ooh, I felt great out of this meeting and I wrote down how I feel about that, right? Either one, I'm not trying to punish myself. So I'll go back through my week and then I'll map those feelings to one of these categories over here. Was it my leadership, my sales, my parenting, whatever it was here. Then I look for my empowering question that will help me sort through whatever else I'm looking through my thing. And then I pick the right resource on the book And then I dig into the book of my resource here in my chat. And I spend less than 10 minutes in my day and I'm good. So it could be skill development. Like it could be my sales or presentation here. It could be my business development, like understanding how to get from a certain, like Danielle, like we talk about crossing the chasm and, driving innovation and driving adoption. But I'm spending that time to develop myself first before I develop everybody else around me. Right? My
Yeah.
kids, my family, my clients. I can't develop my business unless I'm developing myself first. So that's why I think I'm not this like morning ritual guy where you got to go do everything in the morning and eat perfect oatmeal from the Danish, whatever. No, but I do want to feed my mind with something to start the day off. And guys, it is a struggle to not start the day with this. It just, it just is. So without this, I do my little prayer in the morning. I wrestle with my dog in the morning. I do this little calisthenic. I get my body moving, and I do my 9 minutes of greatness. And I start with my journal, plan out my question, pick my resource, and then spend the time kind of developing whatever that skill is for the day.
I love that so much. And there's intention in every single step that you just itemized out for us, because we could easily be like, I want to be just like Eric Post. He does 9 minutes every morning. I'm going to recreate that thing. He said to journal. I'm going to journal. And then I overcomplicate all of it. But Eric, the reason you're journaling and the reason or what you're picking to skill build is, you want to skill build, but you're tuning into the things where you feel friction, right? Where you feel like a little pushback from yourself, and that's tied to some fear or some like lack of confidence in something. And in that moment, you've identified the opportunity to build that skill. And the only reason or way you can remember all of those things is if you make a note of them. And that's your simple, short journaling. It's, that's the reason you're journaling, is to make note of that feeling, because it's identified an opportunity to develop a skill set. And you do that through Huzi. And notice then that takes us to the tool, because we've identified the thing that we're wanting to accomplish. I love that
I'm happy
so
to take a
much.
screenshot of this. So if you guys want to steal my books or whatever, I'm happy to take this screenshot so you can have this list of books if you want them. But I'd love that. Yeah, it's not about being like me or Danielle or Sean or anybody else on this call. But success does leave clues, right?
Good morning, Lauren. This is Mark Schultz, Keller Williams. You called me yesterday about my listing on Southeast Madison. You had some questions from your.
I got it. I love that Mark's working right now.
For sure.
But success does leave clues, Danielle. And so the idea that I just have to sit here and figure it out, it's just ridiculous. I mean, look at all this wisdom I have on this board, on this one board. All of this wisdom of some of the greats that I can get access to in a simple chat. That is mind-blowing to a guy like me who would sit down and, try and read a book every single day. And I still do. But this is like a 10x, 50x, 100x in terms of like getting it at the insights in exactly the pinpointed way that I needed it. So that's why it's powerful. Yes. Any questions other? Any other questions in the chat, Danielle?
Everybody would love your books. Of course we would.
Okay.
I love that so much. And I know Rick's going to be posting too. Rick's got a ton of suggestions also on books, and he's already promised to all of us that he's going to post that in Huzi Connect as well too. So you can look for that shortly. Thank you for sharing, Rick and Eric both.
Yeah, you guys like using AI. So there's this explosion in like content generation. We talked about that. There's explosion now with some of the imaging editing tools, like will be the next Satori and like is in the new ChatGPT released. I'm sure you see online. And there's a lot of talk saying that like, oh, marketers are cooked, graphic designers are cooked. We're not going to need them anymore. Guys, AI makes a mediocre marketing person more mediocre. And it makes an excellent marketer more excellent. It makes a mediocre copywriter more mediocre, and it makes an excellent copywriter more excellent. That's what I mean by this gap creator. It doesn't necessarily mean you're great at it, because you don't know how to make AI great at it unless you are great at it. It's a skill, right? That's why if you're in the listing business, if you're in the real estate business, that's why you can see that every freaking listing is now written by ChatGPT, and you can tell. It didn't make every listing agent great at writing listing descriptions. It just made them lazier at getting listing descriptions written for them. And now the sellers are starting to think, oh shit, look what an easy job. All the agents are just delegating their business to ChatGPT. So could I, right? So that's why the 9 minutes of greatness for me is so important. So I'm leveling up so then I can wield these powerful resources in a way that makes me excellent, not more mediocre. Okay. So it's an expansion of you. AI is an expansion of you. So if you're mediocre, it's going to expand your mediocrity. mediocrity. If you're excellent, it's going to expand your excellence. So we got to use it to level up our game in order to have that expansion be more impactful.
To
I'd
quote
love
Stephanie
to-
here in the chat, she says, moral of the story, if you aren't constantly improving yourself and your skills, AI will reflect your current status.
Beautifully said. It is a reflection. I actually posted, I started my TikTok up again last week. I don't feel like making content, but I have to as a result of doing this business. And that reflection piece, like working with AI guys has changed my view of the entire world, because when I'm working with AI and I'm sarcastic, it's sarcastic back. If I'm thoughtful, it's thoughtful back. If I'm professional, it's professional back. If I'm funny, it's funny back. The world is the same way. The universe is the same way. Your clients are the same way. Your kids are the same way. The problem in the real world is just not our words. Our energies affect the responses, our moods, thought processes, our body language. That's all prompting the world around you, and that's what you get back as an output, right? And so thinking about everything in terms of a prompt, and if you want to generate X number of sales, you got to have the right prompts in today's world in order to generate the sales, right? And so it's a series of prompting. It's just kind of changed the way I view the world. So like working with my son, even like a prompting wizard way of working with my son is different than say, hey buddy, your room's messy, go clean the room. He'll probably do it and do whatever. But if I say something like, hey buddy, I've noticed you've really been taking great care of your truck. Your grades are amazing. I notice your room isn't in the same category. How do you feel about like working in a room so you have like the same sort of vibe going on in all areas of your life? And he'd be like, yeah, that sounds great, right? And he would rise up. So a different sort of prompt generates a different response with my son. But I'm constantly always thinking about these prompts now, and it's been a gift working with AI that's helped me be more thoughtful and working with other people too. So use this skill and translate it to your customers.
And that's because we get instant results. We've all read parenting books, and now we can clearly see that's all it was training us over these years was how to prompt our children. But we don't see the results for 20 years. And so with AI, we see the immediate result of that adjusted prompt. So
yeah,
that's great.
Level up your prompts, level up your skills, level up your game, level up your business. And that's worth living. That's a life worth living to me, is that pursuit of growth, right? The worst feeling in the world is stagnation. That's just the word. It's like when you're going down, at least you have a mission, right? You got something to fix or do. But when you're just flat in something, it's a horrible feeling, right? So it's nice to feel progress. It's nice to feel like you're working towards something. And this isn't a manic, this isn't a stress, this isn't like keep up with the Joneses. This is an individual pursuit of finding out who you are and finding out what you're capable of in your business. And I just think that AI is a really great way to do that. And we hope to be part of your journey.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us on that note, because you are a part of our journey, and we're excited to be a part of yours too, as you lean in and look to build skills and grow your business, your life, just lead a more fulfilling and enriched life too. And we can do so with AI. How beautiful is that? So join us. Of course, we've recorded this, and so this will be posted in Huzi Learn in the next 24 hours. And then we'll see you next week, same time, same place for our next session. Thanks all.
Every single person on this call, you guys. Have a killer day.